Hi all, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to discuss what is robotic process automation or what is RPA. RPA, also known as software robots, which uses automation technologies to mimic tasks of human workers, which are rule-based processes, which includes real life scenarios like if you are working on an Excel activities, which includes copy pasting the same data into one particular sheet from another sheets, or you are using web activities where you have to read data from a website and paste that particular thing into a Excel file or any notepad, then these comes under the rule based processes. So robotic enterprise frameworks are those technologies where this rule based processes can be automated using the help of the robots. So let's see how what are the benefits of using robots, what are the challenges that also comes when we use these things. So let's discuss these things in more details. And so moving to next slide, let's discuss what is the benefits of using RPA. In RPA, we use less coding. So, what is the importance of using less coding? So, RPA does not necessarily require a developer to configure or write code, but instead there is an option there where we can use drag and drop features. So, how it is useful to a developer, because you don't need to learn coding languages, you don't require a very deep knowledge, but yes, a little bit of coding knowledge will serve your purpose. You can use RPA to automate your bots. So this is what less coding means. It does not mean you should not be aware of any coding languages, but at least having a little bit knowledge of if else then for each switch will help you to learn more about RPAs. So moving to next slide, the second point is, which is very important, is called rapid cost savings. So RPA reduce the workload of team staff, can be reallocated towards other priority works that does require human input, leading to increases in productivity and return on investment. So once if the task that is done by a resources is now done by a bot, so automatically the cost things comes into picture, which helps in return on investment. If the same task, if you have a team of 10 members and now almost 8 members task is now done by bots, so which helps the organization in return on investment, so they can save the cost. So which is the major importance of using RPA in real life scenarios. Moving to the third point is called higher customer satisfaction. Why this is an important point? Because we as a human being, we have a tendency to work either on morning shift, afternoon shift, night shift. So we cannot work 24 into 7, but bots work round the clock. They can reduce wait time for customers, leading to higher rates of customer satisfaction. So this is also one of the very critical point that is helping the organization to choose RPA. Now moving to next slide. The fourth point is improved employee morale. Since the repetitive task that is being done by a human being, or the mundane task that the same task they used to do again and again, so they lack interest in their task if the task is boring. So by lifting repetitive high volume workload of your team, RP allows people to focus on more thoughtful and strategic decision making. This shift in work has a positive effect on employee happiness, since the mundane task has been moved to different bots. So now the people can do more decision making works in the organization, so which improves the employee morale and which brings positive effect on the company's revenue, because if the employee is happy, definitely it is directly proportional to company's growth. Moving to next slide. The last but not the least is better accuracy and compliance. So we can program RPA robots to follow specific workflows and rules. We can reduce human errors, particularly around work which requires accuracy and compliance, like regulatory standards like GDPR and all. RPA can also provide an audit trail, which making it easy to monitor progress and resolve issues more quickly. So we human being are not whatever task we are doing, we are not auditing it. We are not writing things like we have did these things. But when bot use the same processes, they will audit it. They will log everything so that if there are any issues comes, then we can go back and check the errors and then we can work out on it. So this is the very important factor that we need to take care. Apart from this, it helps us to compliance with the policies, like you we human being has a tendency to either click on something which are not ethical. So these things are not done by bots, so which helps the organization to follow better accuracy and compliance policy if they are shifting to the bots. The last points that it very important to highlight here is existing systems remain in place. Robotic process automation software does not cause any disruption to underlying systems because bots work on the presentation layer of existing applications. So we can implement bots in situations where we don't have an application programming interface or the resource to develop deep integrations. Means if you compare this RPA tool with other tools in the market, we might need to do some changes in the infrastructure to integrate with the system. But RPA is just a software that if we install that particular software in our system, then we don't need to do any changes, any major changes in the existing system. The existing system remains in the place as it is. So RPA, the adoption policy of RPA, this concept make the adoption policy much easier and very helpful for the organization. So these are all the points which helps to adopt RPA more better in the organization. So as I discussed about the benefits, so now let's move to the next slide where we will see what are the challenges that are also being there if we are working with RPA. So the challenges of RPA, the first challenges and the major challenges that we see here, we call it organization culture. RPA will reduce the need for certain job roles. It will also drive growth in new roles to tackle more complex tasks, enabling employee to focus on higher level strategy and creative problem solving. Organization will need to promote a culture of learning and innovation as responsibilities within job role shift, which means suppose as a line of business I got to know that my process has been selected for this automation. So if you are working with good organization, then what will happen? Once the automation has been done, you are moved to different projects or different higher roles where you can relearn, reskills yourself and then work in the same organization. But what trend we are seeing in the current market, if you are using, if suppose your process has been automated, instead of shifting to different projects or giving you much better options, the company started firing the employees because now the task is done by bots. So which creates a very uh, we call it a kind of the employers are very scared about these things, like if they know okay my process once this is done they will remove they will remove us, they will fire us. So this cultures that has come into the picture now, So these things need to be taken care by the organization. If they will not take care of these things, so definitely when you start talking to line of business, okay, I need to know about your processes. So they will, like, they don't want to discuss initially. They will say, no, I don't know about much about these things. They will not tell you the exact scenarios when the exceptions will come. So these things will at last plays a crucial role in the final project. So if the organization take cares of their employee when their projects chosen for automation, then definitely these challenges can be overcome. Now moving to the next slide, we call it difficulty in scaling. So what is this? Let's discuss. RPA can perform multiple simultaneous operations. It can prove difficult to scale in an enterprise due to regulatory updates or internal changes. Which means if suppose if your processes has been selected and you worked on that, you successfully delivered that project, but after 2 3 months there is an update in your application, and since you accepted the updates, there is some changes in the UI, user interface. So now the bot is not able to recognize those elements. So that becomes difficulty in existing projects that are being done through bots. Now if any changes occur to your project, existing project, then it is very difficult for bots to go back and rechange all those things. And this is the major problem that we are seeing in industry. Our project was selected, we completed all the scale, all the development part. After 2 3 months there are some changes in the processes, and then we have to rework on the same thing, which is actually a waste of the human timing. The same thing now, the same time that we have invested earlier, now we have also invest the same time to recorrect those things. So that's why we are not able to scale our process more correctly. So we have to choose only those processes where we are not getting any changes in past 2 3 years. We have to always choose processes which are legacy applications, where updates are very less frequent or changes are negligible. The last but not the least is human intelligence. If your process requires human intelligence, then it is not a good choice of automation. Like if you're running a project and you got an error, then again some you need a human intervention to correct those issues, then that is not a good choice for automation. We have to restrict ourselves from choosing those projects. So now we discussed about the benefits, we discussed about the challenges. So this is all about this video. I hope you like this. Meet you in the next session. Thank you so much and happy learning.